Hey, what's going on there, guys? Nick here from Absolute MTG, and welcome back to another installment of How to Build a Sealed Deck. For this episode, of course, we are going to be taking a look at Born of the Gods. So we have our 6 Born of the Gods packs here, and for those of you guys that are not familiar with what Sealed is a form of limited play in Magic the Gathering where instead of bringing your own constructed deck, deck that you've made prior to the event, you are instead handed 6 packs, and out of those 6 packs, you open them up, and you're going to build a 40 or more card deck, including the cards out of your packs and basic lands. So it's a lot of fun. We're going to talk about a lot of different concepts behind Sealed here in this video while we are building our deck and talking about like the land base and stuff like that. But this is pretty much just a walkthrough for Sealed for you guys. So the first thing to do is to open up the packs, and while we are taking a look at our cards, we're going to be sorting it by color. That's kind of like the most important thing. That way you can see what all you have in what color and how many cards you have in a certain color and whether a color is more viable than another one just based on how many good things you have in that color. So let's get started. While we are opening these packs and taking a look at our cards as well, we're going to be looking for cards that qualify as bombs, things that qualify as removal, creatures that have evasion, so we'll discuss that as well. So our first pack here, we have a Retraction Helix, which is kind of a form of removal. It's basically unsummon, and you grant it to a creature, so until the end of the turn, target creature gets tap, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. We have a Great Heart, which is just a vanilla creature. Weight of the Underworld, which is a form of removal, -3/-2 for 4 mana enchantment. Citizen Oathsworn, one of my favorite cards for limited in this format, actually. Excoriate, so exile target tapped creature. Oresco's Sun Guide, 2/2 for 2 creature. Stratus Walk, Nullify. We have a Impetuous Sun Chaser, Culling Mark, Kraken of the Straits. We have a Stormcaller of Keranos, Searing Blood. And we have Fenax, God of Deception, which is actually really crazy. So he's a 4/7 Mythic for 5. He's 3 mana, 1 blue, and 1 black. He has Indestructible, and as long as your devotion to black and blue is less than 7, he's not a creature. And creatures you control have tap. Target player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her grave, where X is this creature's toughness. And we have a Plains and a tip card. So a lot of times people are going to be gravitating towards playing certain cards just because they're mythics, and that's not always the case for limited. Sometimes the colors that you have that are playable may not include a certain mythic or really expensive rare that you pulled. So we'll see if we can actually play Fenax. He's a really sweet card in limited. I really like mill and like milling your opponent's deck instead of like getting them to 0 life as a ulterior kind of motive. However, if he doesn't work for us, he doesn't. I mean, we do have some other sweet cards in here otherwise. So we'll see. So off to our second pack, but Fenax would be a type of card that would qualify as a bomb, where cards like Weight of the Underworld would classify as removal. So we have Revoke Existence. Now we'll actually start sorting. Nyxborn Wolf. We have a Evanescent Intellect. We have Epiphany Storm. A Servant of Timaret. A Karametra's Favor. Another Sun Guide, another Stratus Walk, and another Nullify. Very weird. And another Impetuous Sun Chaser. Looks a lot like our last pack. Adunos River Trawler. We have a Vile Blight, which is really good removal. And we have God-Favored General, and our rare is a Fated Return. Alright, so this is a 7 mana cost card, instant, and we get to put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under our control. It gains Indestructible, and if it's our turn, we get to scry 2. Actually, we'll put that with the rest of the black stuff. And our land and tip card. I also have a Brick of Lands here off to the side. One thing to remember is whenever you're building a sealed deck, if you're building a 40-card deck, the ideal number of lands that you would want to have in your deck is usually 17. 16 if your mana curve is a little bit lower. 17 if you're pretty fair on like early drops, and like later drops like 6 mana cost or 7 mana cost stuff, but not overwhelmingly a lot of it. So we have Eye Gouge. We have a Nyxborn Triton. We have Swordwise Centaur and green. Epiphany Storm. Hold at Bay. We have a Elite Skirmisher. Mortal's Resolve. We have a Asphyxiate. So it seems like black may be playable for us. A Crone Skyguard. Reckless Reveler. Ornitharch. Thassa's Rebuff. We do have a Raised by Wolves, which is really awesome as well. And then we have Karametra. Oh, geez. So 6/7 for 5, indestructible. As long as your devotion to green and white is less than 7, Karametra isn't a creature. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may search your library for a Forest or Plains card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and shuffle your library. Alright, so we have 2 directions we can go in, I guess. Then we have our 2 non-relevant cards. Alright, so 3 packs in, and we already have 2 mythics. Jeez. So let's see. Another Citizen Oathsworn. Another Excoriate. Rise to the Challenge. Another Nyxborn Triton. War Chanter of Mogus. Loyal Pegasus. Another Elite Skirmisher. Yet again, another Mortal's Resolve. Asphyxiate again. Crone Skyguard. A Satyr Nyxsmith. Unravel the Aether. Ragemonger. And Scourge of Skull Vale as another rare. So, Trample, whenever it enters the battlefield, it's going to enter with 2+1/+1s, and we can tap, sack another creature, and put a number of +1/+1 counters on Scourge of Skull Vale equal to that sacked creature's toughness. Interesting. Then a Swamp and an Elemental token. Luckily enough, the Elemental actually goes with Satyr Nyxsmith, so that's pretty cool. But so far, the things that I really like, I mean, I like the 2 mythics that we've pulled, but I also like cards like a Crone Skyguard and our Mortal's Resolve in green and the Citizen Oathsworns that we've pulled multiples of. I really like that. But in black, I really also like the 2 Asphyxiates and the Weight of the Underworld that we've pulled. So we'll see where our last portion of the pack will take us. Alright, so Scouring Sands, a Chorus of the Tides, Fellhide Brawler, Swordwise Centaur again, Griffin Dreamfinder, Impetuous Sunchaser, Fairies Band Tromper, Deepwater Hypnotist, Crypsis, a Reckless Reveler, Archetype of Aggression. So the archetype creatures are always pretty sweet. Black Oak of Adunos, Archetype of Finality, and Tromokratus. Oh, that's nuts. So Tromokratus, he has hexproof unless he's attacking or blocking. He can't be blocked unless all creatures defending player controls block it, and he is a 8/8 creature for 7, which is nuts. And then we have a bird and a forest. And then last pack here. Alright, so let's see just what we get. We have a Bolt of Keranos. We have a Mortal's Ardor. Eye Gouge. A Nyxborn Triton. Yet again another Swordwise Centaur. I think we have like 3 of them now. Loyal Pegasus. Another Elite Skirmisher. Another Mortal's Resolve. Another Asphyxiate. Wow, that's really nuts. Crone Skyguard. Shriek Harpy. Archetype of Aggression. And Dawn to Dusk. And Eidolon of Countless Battles, which this card is nuts. 0/0 for 3. And it has Bestow for 4. Eidolon of Countless Battles, an enchanted creature. Each get +1/+1 for each creature you control, and +1/+1 for each R you control. So this card's really good. And we have a gold token, which goes along with Guild in this set. So we'll put the tokens off to the side. Those don't really matter for us. We have our multicolored stuff here. So now that we have everything kind of sorted already, we have it sorted by color. Now, like, the next step is to try to look at the cards that we have that will ultimately end up working for us. Like, things that have synergy, things that will just work, and stuff that will ultimately be good in each color. So the first thing that I like to do is to actually take a look at each color and then pick apart things that are good in the color from what isn't good in the color. So Shriek Harpy is a creature that has evasion. It has flying, so it's going to be able to get around all the creatures that don't have flying, or reach, that is. It also has Tribute 2, and whenever it enters the battlefield, if the tribute wasn't paid, we have our opponent sack a creature. So it's kind of like a source of removal, or it can be a 4/4 flyer for 5 mana, which is pretty much just fine. But also having that mode of removal is pretty sweet. We have Asphyxiate, which I actually know that we pulled multiple of. So there's another Asphyxiate, another one, and then that's it. So we pulled 3 Asphyxiate, which is nuts. That is 3 removal spells that only cost 3 mana. Which is really nice. We have Eye Gouge, which isn't really that good, at least not for like competitive or anything like that. It may be like a sideboard tech if you see that your opponent's playing a lot of Cyclop creatures for some reason, but otherwise it's not really anything that is that amazing. I guess if your opponent's playing a lot of creatures with 1 toughness as well, it's pretty good. Black Hook of Adunos it's alright. Tap another creature, or tap another untapped creature you control, and it gets +1/+1. It's just a defender, nothing too special. Archetype by Finality, creatures you control have Death Touch, and creatures that your opponents control lose Death Touch and can't have or gain Death Touch, and it's a 2/3 creature for 6, which seems very underwhelming, but the ability that it actually gives is very, very good. So that's a pretty good card. Fellhide Brawler, 2/2 for 2, can't block unless you control another Minotaur. It's pretty much just a kind of filler card. It doesn't really do anything too special for us. War Chanter of Mogus, however, it's a 3/3 creature for 5, and whenever it becomes untapped, target creature you control gains Intimidate until the end of the turn, which is a pretty fair card. It's a little bit underpowered for its power and toughness to converted mana cost, but the ability that it gives is actually pretty good. Another Eye Gouge. Fated Return's pretty sweet. You have to be playing very high end. You're, of course, going to be playing a 17 land deck, at least. Maybe like some ramping or something like that. But if you have a lot of removal and you have the ability to take your opponent's things and pick apart at them, Fated Return's actually pretty sweet. As is Bile Blight. So target creature and all other creatures with the same name as that creature get -3/-3. Aduna's River Trawler isn't really that amazing. Servant of Tyramet is a pretty decent card. It's more so filler than I think anything else, but 1/3 creature for 3 that it regenerates for 3, and off of Inspired, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain life equal to the life lost. And then Weight of the Underworld, which is another form of removal, which is just sweet. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, essentially 9 cards in black that are pretty much playable. 10 if you include Fenax, but that would force us to be in blue as well. But we do have a lot of removal. Not really any dominating presence with like creatures or anything like that. Now let's actually take a look at blue. So in blue we have Nyxborn Triton. I think we have multiple of him as well. So 3 Nyxborn Triton. So just a pretty plain 2/3 creature for 3, but you can bestow it for 5, which is nice. Tromokratus, however, is just one of the biggest bombs that blue has in this format right now. In Born of the Gods for limited. 8/8 for 7 is just nuts. Crypsis, target creature is going to gain protection from your opponent's creatures until the end of the turn, and you get to untap your creature as well. So it's a form of like combat trick where you just kind of get to manipulate what you're blocking with, and like a big creature that you swing in, and then you get to untap it. It gets protection, and then it can block and stuff. So that's it's a nice trick that blue has for 2 mana at an instant speed. Deepwater Hypnotist, 2/1 for 2, and off of Inspired. It's going to give a creature your opponent controls -3/-0. Chorus of the Tides is 3/2 for 4 with Flying Heroic to scry 1, which I actually like. The evasion's pretty good on a 4-cost creature. Thassa's Rebuff has a counter spell where they have to pay X, where X is your devotion, or else the spell is countered. I know that we have Nullify, we have another one, or at least multiple, or well, just 2 of them, I guess. So 2 Nullify, Stratus Walk, which I think we have 2 of. Yeah, we have Kraken of the Straits, which isn't too bad. Evanescent Intellect, which is pretty alright, but we also have Retraction Helix. So our blue doesn't really look that good. We don't really have a whole lot going on for our blue. I mean, we have Course of the Tide, Scriptus, Tromocratus. We do have the Nullifies that we could use, and also like the Nyxborn Tritons and Deepwater Hypnotist as filler. But overall, there's not really like a whole lot. There's nothing really that's giving us a dominant presence in our deck and making like a smashing appearance. Like, there's nothing that's just going to hit the table early on and then just kind of manipulate the way that things are going. I mean, we do have the removal if we play blue-black to get rid of creatures that our opponent's playing, but if our opponent's playing multiple things per turn based on their mana and like how much things cost, then they could potentially overwhelm us, and we can't do anything until late game. So blue-black is probably not that good just to play Fenax. We don't really have a lot of creatures. So the next thing would be, let's see what's in green-white. And I say that because green-white, we've actually had a lot of really good cards and a lot of multiples of things. So I know that we pulled a lot of Swordwise Centaurs already. We pulled the Citizens as well, the Citizen Oathsworns. And I think, what, 2 of those, I think? Yeah, so two Citizen Oathsworns, 3 Swordwise Centaurs, Mortal's Resolve, times 2, actually times 3, wow. So we pulled 3 of those. We have that Wolf, Nyxborn Wolf, Fairy's Branch Romper, Scourge of Skull Veil, Unraveled Aether, Raised by Wolves, Scarementor's Favor, and Calling Mark. So, out of our cards, Nyxborn Wolf, if the camera will even focus, it's out of focus right now. But it's a 3-mana creature with 3/1, and we can bestow it for 5 to give enchanted creature +3/+1, which isn't bad. It's more of like a card that I would use as filler than anything else. We have 3 Mortals Resolve that give +1/+1 indestructible to a creature until the end of the turn, which is a really nice trick that we can do in green. 2 Citizen Oathsworns, so 3 mana, 1/1, which seems very underwhelming, but each time that we cast a spell that targets him, we put 2 +1/+1 counters on him. Then we have the Swordwise Centaur, which is a pretty decent power creep for green. It's a 3/2 for 2 mana. If we can play it on turn 2 consistently, it can just bash early game for a whole lot. So the 5 of these cards already, I just really like them. Fairy's Band Tromper, 3/3 for 4, inspired, and whenever it becomes untapped, we put a +1/+1 counter on it. Scourge of Skull Veil, we may play it, we may not play it. I really don't like it that much. It's only a 2/2 for 3, and you have to actually eat your own creatures to be able to make it bigger. Unravel the Aether, however, is pretty good because, as you can see, we have a lot of enchantments and enchantment stuff going on in this set. So choose target artifact or enchantment, and its owner is going to shuffle it into his or her library at an instant speed. Raised by Wolves, it enchants a creature, and we get 2 2/2 green wolf creature tokens onto the battlefield, and an enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each wolf we control. Scarementor's Favor, it cantrips, so whenever it enters the battlefield, we draw a card, and enchanted creature has tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So we may play it, we may not play it. And Calling Mark, target creature blocks this turn if able. Not really too impressive or anything like that. But overall, I think we have the 5 cards here, 6 cards here in terms of creatures that just really stand out. Unravel the Aether is pretty good, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 really playable cards out of green, which isn't bad at all. And then we do still have like Nyxborn Wolf that we can just kind of splash in there. So the next thing is white. So in white, Eidolon Countless Battles is really good. He's a very good bomb, just because his power and toughness is going to be based on the number of creatures and auras that you control, and the more presence you can put on the board, the bigger he or the creature that he's enchanting are going to get. So Eidolon's really awesome. Dawn to Dusk, It can destroy enchantments or bring back enchantments from your graveyard, which isn't bad. We have a Crone Skyguard, which we pulled multiples of, so it's another heroic creature, much like our Oathsworns. However, this is a 2-drop for us instead of a 3-drop, and it only costs 1 white as opposed to the double green from Oathsworn. And then it also has evasion, which is really nice. So flying, heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets it, put a +1/+1 on it. So we have 3 of those. Elite Skirmisher, whenever you cast a spell that targets Elite Skirmisher, you may tap target creature. So 3/1 for 3, which isn't bad. It's a pretty fair creature. So we have 2 of those. I think, yeah, just 2 of those. We have Loyal Pegasus, so 2/1. Evasion creature, can't attack or block alone, but if you're able to just grind out on haste creatures or stuff like that, where you can play a turn 1 Loyal Pegasus, turn 2 like Impetuous Sunchaser, it's pretty sweet because Sunchaser has evasion as well, and he's only a 1/1. But swinging in for 3 on turn 2 is pretty nice. Then we have Mortal's Ardor, which I think we only pulled 1 of. Yeah, we only pulled 1 of those. Griffin Dreamfinder. So we get to return an enchantment from our graveyard to our hand. Our removal here to exile target tapped creature, Excoriate. So it's only at a sorcery speed, but it's still really good. It's a 4-mana kill spell. Ornitharch, 3/3 for 5 flying. Tribute to, whenever it enters the battlefield, if tribute wasn't paid, we get 2 1/1 bird tokens with flying. Hold at bay, prevent the next 7 that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn. Another useful but not necessary combat trick that we can have. So God-Favored General, whenever it becomes untapped, we may pay 3 if we do put 2 1/1 White Soldier enchantment creature tokens onto the battlefield. Oresco's Sun God, and I know that we have 2 of those guys. And we also have another kill spell as well. So we'll put the kill spell right there. And the Sun Guides, 2/2 for 2, off of Inspired, we gain 2 life. Revoke Existence, again, like I mentioned with Unraveled Aether, there's a lot of enchantments in this set and also in Theros as well. So enchantment hate's really good. So exile target artifact or enchantment. It's something that we can keep in the sideboard. If we see our opponents playing like a huge amount of artifacts or enchantments, mainly just enchantments, then we can go and we can side in Revoke Existence and have more removal for their things, especially when it comes to like artifact creatures like Eidolon of Countless Battles. So we actually do have a lot of really playable stuff in white. So I would really like to play white here just because of like Sky Guards and Elite Skirmishers and Loyal Pegasus and stuff like that. So there's a lot of really cool stuff. So the only conflict that we would have is having like multiple 2-drops. So we have the Crone Skyguards and we have Swordwise Centaur. So the clash there is that Swordwise Centaur costs double green and a Crone Skyguard costs only 1 white. So ideally we would have to have like 2 forests and a plains to be able to go like turn 2 Swordwise Centaur, turn 3 a Crone Skyguard or something in that fashion. So we want to manipulate our cards in our deck to the point where we're not going to have any awkward distributions of how our turns are going to play out. Like, we want to be as consistent as possible with what we're doing in what turn we're doing it, and if we need to, we may cut Swordwise Centaur just to be able to play more efficient 2-drops that are more consistent for the deck. Then out of red we have Archetype of Aggression. So creatures you control have trample, and creatures your opponents control lose trample and can't gain or have trample. 3/2 for 3. Bolt of Keranos is a form of removal. Deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Scry 1. Another Archetype of Aggression. Reckless Reveler, just a plain 2/1 for 2. Destroy target artifact for 1 red and sack. Impetuous Sunchaser, which I actually really like. I really like the card with Loyal Pegasus. It's really sweet. So we actually have 3 of those guys, which I would love to be able to play like red-white aggro in this sealed, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like green's just pretty much better in terms of the cards that we have. So we do have the 3 Sunchasers and the 1 Bolt, which are pretty nice. Scouring Sands deal 1 to each creature your opponent's control. It's kind of narrow. Satyr Nick Smith, 2/1 for 3. haste, and whenever it becomes untapped, we can pay 3 and put a 3/1 elemental creature token with haste onto the battlefield. Rise to the challenge, +2/+0, and first rec to a creature for 2. Another Reckless Reveler, so we'll put that in the back. Fair's Storm, enchanted creature has 1 red tap, discard a card, draw a card. We have 2 of those. And Stormcaller of Keranos, haste creature, 2/2 for 3 with Scry 1. And Searing Blood, so deal 2 damage to target creature, and when that creature dies this turn, if it dies this turn, Searing Blood is going to deal 3 damage to target that creature's controller. So it's a pretty easy way to like blast small creatures that have like 2 toughness, and then deal 3 to them 3 to their opponent as well. So red doesn't seem too bad. I mean, there's some playable stuff. There's some stuff that I would really like to play, but I think ultimately what we're going to end up with is green-white, which is a color choice that I usually play in Born of the Gods Limited. So I'm not mad about it at all. So out of our green, the cards that I would like to play are like Citizen Oathsworn, Fairies Band Tromper, Unravel the Aether, Raised by Wolves, the 3 Mortals, Nyxborn Wolf, maybe Scourge of Skull of Ale, Karametra's Favor possibly as well. We don't have really anything that is like high-end in drops. It's mainly just the fact that we're playing a lot of like efficient smaller creatures that are going to try and get bigger, especially things like the Citizen Oathsworns, and also our flyers, our flying heroic guy as well. So we do have some stuff out of here that's playable. Maybe the Nyxborn Wolf. We'll leave the Nyxborn Wolf down here for now until we see what all we get. So out of green, these are the cards that I would like to play. And out of white, we do actually have a lot of stuff that I would like to play. So Eidolon is really sweet. That's definitely something that we want to be playing. The 3 Akron Skyguards, 2 Sun Guides, 3 Elite Skirmishers, maybe the 2 Loyal Pegasus, it's a possibility. Mortal's Ardor, Xoriate, or Xoriate. So 2 of those, Ornitharch, and other than that, the rest of the stuff is pretty fair. I mean, we could play it, we could not play it. It really just depends on how many slots we still have left in the deck. Godfavor General, I'm not really as thrilled about this card. It's only a 1/1 for 2, and then Inspired isn't really that overwhelming. So we'll see. We'll see here. So the other thing that I like to do is once we kind of have our narrowed down color choice and our card choice that we want to use for the deck, what I like to do is just to pick up the rest of this stuff and just kind of move it off to the side. We'll keep our green and white stuff here so we can reference it. And then we have our Fenax that we unfortunately will not be able to play, and Karametra, which we would like to play. So now that we have our cards here, the next thing to do is to take a look at the converted mana cost of cards and try to actually build the deck. So, of course, whenever you're actually building, you're going to have a set amount of time, like 30 minutes or so, to actually build your deck and everything. So you're, of course, going to be doing this at a faster pace, but for the sake of this video, I'm going pretty slow to just talk about everything and go over the concepts and whatnot. So the first thing that I like to do is I actually like to take a look at the creatures that we have. That way we can map out the creatures and see what all we can play. So it seems like we have a pretty decent brick of creatures here. So Eidolon of Countless Battles is another 3-drop. We have our Crone Skyguards as 2-drops. Our Sun Guides as well. Elite Skirmishers, Loyal Pegasus. We have our Ornitharch as another 5-drop for us here. And then we have our other spells. We have our instants and sorceries and enchantments in our deck here as well. So, first off, let's actually count the amount of creatures that we're playing. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we have 16 creatures here so far, counting Karametra, which may or may not be a creature for us. But 16 is a good number. Usually you want to have like 16 or 17 creatures in your deck. That way you can kind of like consistently get creatures and consistently play things. I like the cards that we have so far. I like our 3-drops very much, like with Elite Skirmisher, Citizen Oathsworn, and Nylon of Countless Battles. I like our 2-drops as well because we have our Oresco's Sun Guide and we have our Skyguard as well. Our 4-drop is only one card. We only have the Fairy's Band Tromper, but our 5-drops we have Ornitharch and Karametra, God of the Harvest. So pretty much it's a pretty decent view for us. So with this type of a deck, because we're not going like really deep into 5-drops, we only have 1 4-drop, 2 5-drops, no 6-drops or anything more expensive than that. We may consider not playing 17 lands, but rather playing 16 lands because as you guys can see, the bulk of our deck is going to be like 2 and 3 drops, and you could say the same thing for the instants and stuff that we have in our deck as well. I mean, we do have the 2 removal spells here, so that's another 4-drop that we have for us, but this is definitely something that I would probably consider just playing 16 lands in, but we'll see what we end up with here. So we said what, 16 creatures, so 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, so 23 already, and then there is the possibility of playing a card like Unravel the Aether. So we could play Unravel the Aether and go up to, or go down to 16 lands, or we could play a 41 card deck. You only have to build a 40 card deck. Anything above that is just up to you. You can build a 41 card deck, you can build a 60 card deck out of the cards, but 40 is just kind of like the most consistent number that you have. You see your cards pretty consistently, and you have a fair shot of having a consistent game plan. So Unravel the Aether, we could play it, we could not play it. It really just depends on personal preference, how much you think that other people are going to be playing like artifacts and enchantments. So for the sake of this video, let's not play it. Let's just play a 17 land deck and just kind of play a more consistent land base. That way that we're going off of the norm of having a 16 card land base for this deck. So we have 3 1-drops. We have what, 3, 5, 8 2-drops, 6 3-drops, 3 4-drops, and 3 5-drops, which is a pretty decent curve. We spike at 2, and then we just kind of taper off into our 5-drops here, which isn't bad at all. So now the next thing that we want to do is to actually take a look at the mana costs of our cards. So whenever we're looking at our mana cost, that's how we are going to decide how many lands we're going to be playing in our deck. So we are going to sort things by color, and we are just going to count mana symbols, basically. That's basically the way that we want to do this. Alright, so for our white, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And if you want to count Karametra, 18, but 17 nonetheless. And for our green, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 10. So it's almost a 2-to-1 ratio for our white to green that we want to be having. So basically, like 2/3 of our land base is going to be plains, and the 1/3 is pretty much just going to be forests for us. The only thing that we need double green for is Citizen Oathsworn and our Raised by Wolves, but the only conflict that I could see is having double green for Citizen Oathsworn earlier on. So what we could do is we could do something like 10 and 7. We could also do 11 and 6. I would probably be more comfortable with doing a land split that's like 10 and 7, probably right here. 10 plains, just because we don't have a lot of double cost stuff in white. As long as we get 1 plains, we're pretty much good. The Eidolon of Countless Battles costs double white, but it shouldn't be a problem. Ornitharch is double white as well. Otherwise, it really shouldn't be an issue for us to play like a 10 and 7 split. However, you can do very simple math by just adding the total mana symbols and then looking at individual mana symbols and doing division just to find percentages, and then you take percentages based on the total lands that you're playing and try to find the appropriate percent and land number that you want to be having of plains to forests. But just off the top of my head, 10 and 7 sounds good. So with our brick of lands that we have here, we are going to go for 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 plains. And then our forests. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 forests. Alright, so there's our 17 lands for the deck, and that's actually a 40 card deck for us. So now the next thing to do is actually to just kind of play test through it. So once you actually have your deck put together, you always just kind of want to play test a little bit. You want to shuffle things up and see just how things work. So we'll take all this stuff and put it off to the side, and we'll try to shuffle through things here. But Sealed's a really fun format. It's a format that tries to get you to think. It tries to get you to match cards based on how they work and how synergy works with all the different things that you've pulled. Of course, there is a degree of luck to it. I mean, you're opening up packs. If you don't pull any mythics and somebody pulls 6 mythics out of their packs for some reason, they do have the chance of playing 6 mythics then. So there is that form of probability because you're opening up sealed packs, and there's randomization there. You could pull literally anything. You could pull a very bad sealed pull and have to deal with very bad cards, or you could pull a ridiculous sealed pull and have to deal with really good cards. So you're gonna try and make the best out of it. You're gonna make the best out of the cards that you can, and you are gonna pretty much just play it to your best ability, which I think is a pretty nice thing. The playing field is pretty level in this type of a format, and everybody pretty much has an almost equal chance of doing well just based on skill and ability in deck building and being able to point out card synergies and just kind of put things together based on that, and just proper deck building in general. So we are just going to do a few little riffles here, and I do want to be careful to not damage like the mythic or anything like that, so that's why I'm carefully shuffling and not trying to mess up any of the edges of the cards or anything like that. So we'll just do like one more shuffle or two here, and then we'll actually get started. For the previous videos, I think that every single time that I shuffled, I cut away from the camera, and I just said, oh, it's shuffled, let's do like a couple more like cuts or something like that, and just so you guys know that I'm not rigging the deck or anything like that to show you fake hands or something like that. But yeah, I guess this is the first time that I've actually just sat through and shuffled while the video was taping. So alright, now that we have our deck, we have everything finished for us, it's time to play test. So we'll draw our hands. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So this isn't a bad hand. I mean, we do have 4 lands. We do have double green and double white, which isn't bad at all. So I think this is something that we want to keep. The Citizen Oathsworn is really sweet. We do have removal, and we do have Tromper, which is a pretty decent 4-drop for us if our opponent doesn't play anything that we can remove. So we can lead into with a forest. So we'll lead into a forest, and we'll draw for turn. We have Mortal's Resolve, which is pretty sweet. Then we can play plains. It doesn't really matter for us at this point. We'll play plains and pass turn, or we can conceal our colors and play another forest, so our opponent doesn't think that we're playing green-white. But ultimately, it may not affect the game very much, but in some cases it may. So we draw, and we have Elite Skirmisher. So now we are pitted with the choice of playing Elite Skirmisher or playing Citizen Oathsworn, and personally, I want to play the Oathsworn, just because this creature can get very big very quick, and we do have ways of doing so. We do have the Mortal's Resolve to make him a 4/4 until the end of the turn, but a 3/3 permanently unless our opponent deals with him. So we can play our Citizen Oathsworn and we pass the turn, and then we can untap, and we draw another land. So we have 4 lands now, and now what we can do is we can swing in with the Citizen Oathsworn. If our opponent has any smaller creatures, they may block, like if they have like a 2/1 creature or something like that, they may trade it for our Citizen Oathsworn, or maybe if they have a 3/3, maybe our opponent may think that we have a card that can pump him, and maybe they won't block because they'll think, oh wait, he can make that card bigger. So it's just a matter of always trying to see what your opponent does first and then reacting to it accordingly if you can have a reaction to it. So maybe our opponent blocks with like a 3/3. We play Mortal's Resolve, we make him a 4/4 until the end of the turn because of the +1/+1, and he gets the 2+1/+1 counters off of Heroic. We make him a 4/4, he has Indestructible, and that'll happen for the turn. Unfortunately, then we can't do anything else. Let's assume that our opponent doesn't do anything. They just don't block, or they don't block with any of their creatures. They let the 1 damage go through. Well, we're okay with that. We get in for 1 point of damage. Our opponent may think that we have a card to pump him, which we do. So instead of wasting that pump spell and that indestructibility, why don't we just go and play Fairy's Band Tromper? It's a pretty decent 4-drop for us, and it's a 3/3 right off the bat. So we'll play that, and then we can untap and go for our next turn. We draw, and we have Karametra, which is nuts. So we can play Plains, and then we can just kind of go about the same thing. Like if our opponent has something that's worth removing, we can go and we can remove it for 4 mana. But if not, I mean, we can always go and attack, see what our opponent does in terms of blockers. We can play like Mortal's Resolve. So let's assume, all right, here he does block. He thinks, all right, well, let's see what you can do in terms of pump spells or anything like that. So we can use Mortal's Resolve on one of our creatures to keep it alive, or to manipulate combat math or anything like that. And then let's go and play Elite Skirmisher. So now we have another 3/1 or 3 power creature on the board. So now that we have that, we untap and draw. And we have another form of removal, which is nuts. So we have 2 removal spells in our hand in Karametra. If our opponent doesn't have anything that's worth removing, we can just go and we can swing in with all of our dudes. Of course, remembering our Fairy's Band Tromper triggers with Inspired, which is something that I forgot to mention whenever we were untapping and everything. But swinging in with our guys, then we can go and we can play our Karametra. So our Karametra is really nuts, and right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 devotion to green and white. So unfortunately she's not a creature, however her ability will trigger off whenever we are casting creature spells. So we'll draw here, draw for turn. We have another Mortal's Resolve, which is bad. So ultimately we have options. We have things that we can do, and it looks pretty good. It looks to function the way that we want this deck to. Well, unfortunately, we didn't see any of our 2-drops, our Crone Sky Guards, but however, we did see Karametra, and we got our Citizen off and some removal as well. So ultimately, that's kind of what we're trying to do. We're trying to build like the most efficient deck that we can with our cards possible. Sometimes, maybe even if we didn't have Karametra, our Fennex still wouldn't have been playable. You really just don't want to force yourself into any colors that are just going to be bad. Like, you always want to consider the colors and options that you have that are more playable than one certain rare that you pinpoint as being really, really good. Even if we pulled like Brimaz is a really, really good mythic in white. However, if we have no other white cards to back him up, it's not really worth to play a double white card in our sealed deck unless we have a very, very good way of playing him and mana fixing and whatnot. But otherwise, yeah, that's our deck for us here. That is our sealed deck and our deck building portion of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. I really enjoy doing these time and time again each time a new set comes out, and I hope you guys enjoy watching them and being able to kind of refresh your sealed deck building strategies and whatnot, and just taking a look at the sets and trying to admire the cards for the synergies that they have, and trying to figure out what works best with what. Of course, I like green-white. Green-white's one of my favorite archetypes in Theros and Born of the Gods for Heroic. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, I would appreciate it if you thumbs up the video for some support, and check out the social media links that we have in the description down below. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video and would like to see more Magic the Gathering content, you can hit the subscribe button on the screen and you'll be notified whenever a new video is available. And for those of you guys that enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh, you can check out my Yu-Gi-Oh channel by clicking on the video in the top right hand corner. Also, be sure to check out our sponsors for the channel, ABU Games and Europe's MTG Madness, for all of your Magic the Gathering needs, no matter where you are.